from PRX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is a all intro episode for the summer season of 2025 here in July. These are popular, these all intro episodes. So if you enjoy them, you know, you get, if you're a boyfriend or boy bestie on Sleep With Me Plus, you get 2 more every single month. But this will be intro after intro after intro, all to keep you company and take your mind off of stuff so you can fall asleep. And you may be hearing this same message in August. I think we'll do one in August. What do we get? June, like whatever the long weekends are. But yeah, and if you want more Sleep With Me in the summertime, you know, we got Subscriber Summer always going in the summertime, which means in addition to everything we're putting out here in the main feed, we got even more stuff coming out on Sleep With Me Plus. So we're here for you night after night after night. Take it away, past Scoots, with your own friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Go ahead, Scoots, say the same thing I just said, but in your own special way. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, it's time to get bacon. We'll get to sleep, but I'll be talking about the British Bake Off. But whenever I say bacon, I think of Bo Bacon, the Bacon brother that never gets any credit, and who I guess I wish was my Bo Bacon. Not to take anything away from the other Bacons, but you see, do you have any Bacon brothers that are your imaginary friends? And I'd say I have an imaginary Bacon brother that's my friend, Bo Bacon. Now, if you're new, you may be saying, what in the name of the Bacon brothers and the Fabulous Baker Boys is this person talking about? And you could be in the right place, because this is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Helix Sleep, and they've got some amazing deals coming up. You're going to hear about it at the end of this ad read, so do not miss out. I want you to right now to open up your phone. Just do it with me. I'm going to go to helixsleep.com/sleep, and if I were you, I wouldn't want to, I don't know what your relationship with your bed is right now. I've had a long-term relationship with my Helix mattress. It fits my needs, how I sleep. I sleep on my side, I sleep on my stomach, but now I'm sleeping more on my back, and I'm relocating, and unfortunately, I'm not in a position where I could ship my mattress because I have to move my stuff before I move. But that's okay. It means I get a new Helix, so I'm going to take the Helix quiz right now, helixsleep.com/sleep. 30 seconds, and you give, 1 or 2 sleepers. 1. Okay, let me put in my email. Put in my name here, give a little bit of information. Okay, what size mattress am I considering? I got that down. All right. I don't know if are you taking this quiz with me at helixsleep.com/sleep? All right, toss. I guess I toss and turn. So I'm going to pick toss and turn. And what kind of firmness? Okay, I'm going to pick my firmness that fits my needs. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get yours, Okay, I'm going to talk about my back there, talk about temperature. All right, I got matched with my mattress. Oh, boy, and it's a different one than I have now just because I made a couple changes to how I sleep. So I'm going to check this out and think about it for my next Helix I'm going to be sleeping in. So take that Helix quiz. It's going to be coming right to your door, but most of all, it'll be a mattress that fits you, your needs, and how you sleep. And the best news is that Helix has amazing deals for Sleep With Me listeners, but only if you use our link. So all you need to do is go to helixsleep.com/sleep for Labor Day early access and get 20% off site-wide. That's helixsleep.com/sleep for 20% off site-wide. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. helixsleep.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots. Are you the one person that I'm trying to get a hold of tonight to sign up at Sleep With Me Plus, sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus? Here's the ways to find out. Does Sleep With Me make your life better? Okay, great. Do you listen on a regular basis? Okay. Have you decided not, if you've decided not to support the show, then you could just opt out right now. You say, makes my life better. I listen on a regular basis, but yeah, I already decided I'm not going to support the show. Don't worry. I'm not trying to change your mind if you've decided not to support the show. But okay, so you're still with me? Great. You might be the one. Here's some other ways to figure out if you're the one. Okay, have you been listening longer than 6 months? Okay, does Sleep With Me bring you comfort in the deep dark night or help you fall asleep? Okay. Do you listen to Sleep With Me like 2 nights a week or more? Okay. All right, so you might be the one then. Okay, what about, do you fall asleep within 45 to 60 minutes of the episode? Or you listen to about that much every night? Okay. Have you listened longer than a year? Oh, okay, you might be the one then. Do you listen 2 nights a week? Okay. 3 nights a week? Okay, well, boy, you might be the one. You might be the one I'm trying to get a hold of to see if you're still listening and hearing me, to see if you're willing to support the show. Okay, but let's keep going. Do you fall asleep in less than 45 minutes? Like, do you use a sleep timer? Okay, do you listen 3, 4, 5 nights a week? Okay, you might be the one. Have you been listening longer than 2 years? Oh, okay. Do you listen more than one episode a night? Okay, there's a pretty good chance you're the one then. I mean, you get to choose in the end. Have you been listening longer than 3 years? Oh, wow. I'm pretty sure you're one of the people I'm trying to reach to see if you want to decide if you're the one. Do you listen 6, 7 nights a week? You've been listening like longer than 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? Do you fall asleep very fast, like before the intro's even over, just during the wind down? Okay. You may be the one I'm trying to reach. And if you are the one, really could use your support. Ideally, by supporting the show on Sleep With Me Plus. It's designed for super listeners like you. And you can do that at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus because that'll keep the show going. And here's the thing. I only need you, right? There's 19 other people listening who said yes to a lot of that stuff. But in the end, they said, well, maybe one day, maybe tomorrow. Or no, some of those are yeses, but it's a no, Scoots. And that's okay because I just need the one. So I don't know, are you the one or not? Now, if you're the one and you say, Scoots, I just can't afford $60 a year. I just can't afford $7 a month. Well, I've been in that spot. Even when I was making the podcast, I've been in that spot. My daughter and I were just talking about the times we didn't have a car and how much walking and how much we took the bus. That's why I was making the show. And, so I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck, but you could still make a difference in the future of the podcast by being a part of the referral program. So if you feel like I'm the one, I want to be the one, you could support the show at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus, or you could be an active member of our referral program. And we talk about it all the time. Those are the ways you could be the one. We could use your help in one of those two places. So thank you so much if you're the one. If you're not, that's fine too. Thanks and good night. Oh, Mystery Bard. A lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Poster son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. I'll write a song for you. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. Oh, and hey, if you're listening to this, you know, the referral program, if you're not in a position to financially support the show, is a huge way to support the show and get free access to Sleep With Me Plus. That's at sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer. But there's also a tiny way anybody can help out the show. It's free. It helps out the show a little bit. And that's following the podcast wherever you listen to it or commenting if you listen on Spotify or YouTube. It really helps other people discover the show, helps you stay up to date on the latest episodes. And only 50% of people follow or subscribe. It's free to follow or subscribe in podcast apps. So if you do that, it just gives it helps people discover the show and it helps you stay up to date on the show. So follow or subscribe in your podcast app. That'll help out the show a little bit. Not necessarily keep us going forever, but I'd appreciate it. And while you're at it, go ahead and follow Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me. That's in every podcast app, too. That has a story-only episodes that'll add it to your sleepy repertoire. Thanks, and what do you say we get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. It could be thoughts you're thinking about, like things on your mind, thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, changes in time or temperature or schedule. Or, just you don't know. You say, I don't know. It could be something else. You say, Scoots, you don't know. And I'd say, you're right about that. I wish I could, in some sense, I wish I could list it all. But when I say all the basic stuff, I say I'm trying to address it all without saying it all. So, because I'm the kind of person who gets so say we all and so shall we all mixed up. Also, so whatever's keeping you awake, stuff you're thinking about, anything you're feeling physically or experiencing emotionally or something else, I'm here to keep your company and take your mind off of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders. So I'm going to go off topic and pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. So I'm going to do those things, get mixed up, filler words. You know what we say around here, filler up with filler words. You see, could you put some extra filler words on that, Scooter? And I'd say, welcome to Scooter's Diner, the filler word, free refills on the free refills and overfills. We're one of the first diners to ever have, and, this became revolutionary in my mind. But we were the first diner to have grape-based counters. You see, these counters are great. And it's, are you making a pun, or do you like the fact that our counters are actually great? Because one of the reasons is it makes cleanup easy. And two, I tend to just, it became an international phenomenon, brought the diners back. And everyone said, what happened to those diners? Do they only live in nostalgia? And then a world became where one person invented a diner where they would, who wasn't good at, who wanted to be, who wanted to have a paper hat and an apron and a little sass, but he was not good at filling up coffee mugs or cups, taza de cafe. And so he always overfilled them, but he knew that about himself. So he went to the greatest designer of diner counters, diner designer, Gertrude, whose last name will remain anonymous. And he said, Gertrude, I need, I overfill drinks all the time. What solutions could you offer? And she said, well, we usually make our counters with little lips. And I said, oh, that's so cute. Could I give a counter a kissy poo? And Gertrude rolled her eyes and said, are you serious? Or like a lip, let me show you a raised portion. And I'd say, oh, wow, I've seen those at work. Those actually do work. How come they got rid of those? And she said, I'll never know. And she said, they called it progress. And I said, progress. And I said, I was just sorry, Gertrude, I may have paused there because I was trying to think of something to say egress, because I don't know if that's what I'm looking for, something to egress my overpours. I don't think a lip's going to do it, because then the customers are going to end up, unless, we sell that as a selling point. Come to the Scooter's Diner where there's ponds of coffee. No, that doesn't sound appealing. And she said, what about a micrograte? And I said, great idea, Gertrude, but I got to run because I forgot I was in the middle of a podcast intro. I wasn't even in the middle of it. Sorry, new listeners in particular. Regular listeners, you've been there before. Not at my diner before. It's new. And yeah, it has great. Also, your whatever, your crumbs, they go through the grate too. And then I just wipe it down at night. We take the grates off. And of course, that's all compostable. It's even better. Okay. But so if you're new, you may be confused already. What I was going to do, I said create a safe place where you could set aside stuff. So if you're new, a couple things to know. One, it's okay not to like this podcast. It's totally cool. And I just want to say that right up front or to not be sure because I don't know. I think sometimes people feel some pressure. I don't want you to feel any pressure even to like this show if you're new. So that's the other thing. The other thing is I don't want you to feel any pressure, and you may feel some internal pressure to follow along or make sense of what I'm saying. But as you can see by what just transpired, this podcast just barely makes sense. You say, if you don't think it's this podcast makes sense if you don't think about it too long, and that's why you don't need to think about it too long. Because, I mean, the intro, you could think about it a little bit longer because it's the beginning of the show. Because you say, okay, wait a second. Have I been to any diners with great counters? And you say, again, I'm tempted to make yet another pun, but I won't. But you say, I've seen greats in many other food service areas. And, when I am recording this, I'm forlorn for a trip to a diner. But, maybe when you're hearing this, we could visit diners more often again. And there'll be the great diner revival. But you'd say that almost makes sense. But then if you were starting to think about it more, then you say, oh, that's why, I'm not there yet. It'll take me another month or two. And I'll be, oh, that's why diners don't have grates for counters because of that simple, clear idea. But this podcast is, you see, that almost barely makes sense. It's almost a good idea. So just barely listen to me, I guess is what I'm saying. Because I barely make any sense. And that's but that can be hard at first when you come to the show. So many regular listeners are just kind of nodding along or doing that. You heard me breathe in and they say, oh, that's Scoots. Yep, he's almost got a good idea. He's got a good idea, but it's like a grate. It's got holes in it or it's porous. It's good ideas. And they're adaptable. My ideas are, what is that called? Resilient. You could take the idea and make it better. I'm sure of it, Gertrude, as long as I get 80% of the income from that idea. So, okay. Oh, where was it? Okay, so don't barely listen to me. The other thing is this podcast doesn't really put you to sleep. It keeps you company as you fall asleep. And yeah, I don't know. It's just here to keep you company as you fall asleep, like a friend. But not really to put you to sleep. I don't know, to take your mind off of stuff. So I don't know, see how it goes. I guess I'm a little bit distracted both by the diner idea, but I guess part of that, what led me to that was there was just this review of the podcast that someone wrote. They were very, I don't know how you spell it. Irate, IRATE. They did not rate me well. And I don't need to really please, you say, okay, that person, the podcast definitely did not work from them. And they felt very strongly about all of the things that didn't work for them. And I want to point out to you that that's totally cool. But just see how it goes. The one thing I say is most listeners say give it 2 or 3 tries. It took 2 or 3 tries to like the podcast. And that's not for my benefit. It's just to kind of for you to see how it goes because it is different. The idea, okay, wait, this is a podcast. You're not worried if I like it or not. And I say, no, I'm not worried about it. Even the people that really enjoy the podcast, they say, Scoots, I barely listen to you. I barely know you. I feel like you're a good friend that I barely know. And I say, perfect. I'm doing my job. So kind of just see how it goes. I guess I got that point across. Okay. So don't need to like the show. Oh, because if you're skeptical, that's what I was going to say. That's how I would approach the podcast. If I was a listener, I'd say, I'm doubtful about this idea. Okay, so no pressure, no need to listen, no pressure to fall asleep. The structure of the show is another thing. Really threw this particular person off. And And the structure of the show is just based on, one, how the show grew organically and how we keep it going so it can come out twice a week. So a show starts off with a greeting, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary. Then there's business. Then there's an intro. So right around the first part of the show is probably 30 seconds to a minute. Then the business is a few minutes. Then so maybe 5-6 minutes. I don't know. Then the intro is like 12 to 20 minutes, but it's really a show within a show that some people fall asleep to and a lot of people use to unwind, to get 20 minutes or 15 minutes away from the day and to get ready for bed or to just, start to wind down and start to be distracted. So that's kind of the intro. Then there's business, just podcast structure. And then there's the episode. Tonight we'll be talking about the Great British Bake Off or the Great British Baking Show or whatever it's properly called wherever you are in the world. I prefer when Raven Simone's going to take it over one day in my imagination, and she'll call it That British Baking Show. Or that's so, I don't know, I just think that just sounds better, That British Baking Show. Instead of That's So British Baking, That's So British Baking Show doesn't work as well. Or That's So Raven's British Baking Show. You'd say, wait a second, I kind of get it, but where's the comma and all that? And I'd say, you're right. Do you put commas in titles of imaginary TV shows? So we'll talk about that. Then there's some thank yous. So that's the structure of the show. And I think that's all you really need to know, other than the fact, give the show, and the reason I say give the show a few tries is just because it's like, oh, wait a second, on the second or third try, I realized you're just like a friend I can call on the phone and that talks about nothing in very close detail, but details that I'm not really interested in. Because you say you don't even know, you're the one of the people you constantly call Noel, Julian. And then you say, then you get mixed up, and then you talk about Prue, and then you're fixated on alliterations, but you actually, I did an alliteration count of the episode one time, Scoots, and you were way off. And I'd say, yeah, that's you're right about those things. So you say, then I realized, I didn't really need to pay attention to you. The idea is this show is kind of harmless. I wouldn't call myself harmless because that's just my Nana who says, well, he's not bad. I wouldn't call him harmless, because he can kind of get on the old, you don't want to be around him in the daytime. That's what the Nana within me says, because he's not a bad boy. He's not bad. I say, thanks. Once again, Nana, I thought all the new listeners that they may have forgotten, and they said maybe Scoots is, but no, if they listen to this podcast, they know, well, he's not bad boy. He's kind of lukewarm. He's no Luke from whatever, one of those famous Lukes. And he's more of lukewarm. And I'd say, thanks again. So those are most of the things, The other thing you need to know is the reason I make this show, you deserve a good night's sleep. I hope that this podcast can provide it for you. It doesn't work for everybody. So if it doesn't, I hope you find something that does. But whatever you take away, no, you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a safe place where you could get some rest and ideally be in a position where you're rested tomorrow and you feel like you could be like, yeah, I could be more present in my life. That will make the world such a better place. Incremental improvement really is magical. And if we could get that kind of incremental improvement going, it's just great. So you say, well, I gave somebody a thumbs up when I was walking just to do it. I didn't realize, that they were driving a dump truck. So then they dumped, but that was, I felt good about it and they smiled and then pulled the lever. Luckily it was beach sand and they were at the beach. It was just a wrong beach and no one was there. So it wasn't a big deal, just inconvenient. And then, if in 2095, they're going to say, wow, that's how come we could spill whatever we want on our kitchen tables nowadays. And you say, what do you have? Like a grated, your kitchen tables have grates or dining tables with lasers or something, right? And you'd say, well, kind of, Scoots, close enough. Not lasers, but yeah, fission or fusion, micro machines, actually. I'd say, are those like nanobots? Are those like those things that were popular like Christmas like 8 years ago that you turn them on and they vibrate and they move around? And you say, of course, Scoots, we're from the future. We just laugh at you in a good way, in a friendly way, because you were almost, you had one piece of the puzzle, a very tiny piece. And I said, that's all I need, an incremental piece. So you deserve a good night's sleep. The other thing is, I've been there. I know how it feels tossing and turning in the deep, dark night. I just want to help. So that's it. I'm glad you're here. I really appreciate you giving me your time, and I really hope I can help you fall asleep. Thanks again for stopping by. And here's a couple of ways we're able to bring this podcast twice a week. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it the bedtime story. And all you need to do, or all you could do, is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. When I say I'm going to do the rest, that means, hey, set your mind at ease. I'm here to help. But let me give you some more details. What I propose to do is create a safe place, a nice, smooth, padded down, safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, things on your mind that you're thinking about, those pesky thoughts that, that get on your mind. They say, oh boy, past, present, or future. It could be physical sensations that are coming up for you, or it could be feelings about either one of those things, or just feelings that are there on your own. Today I've got some feelings going, and I really they're more of a weather pattern that's come in. And you'd say, Scoots, could you describe those? And I say, eventually I describe them. Let me get through this beginning. But you'd say, Scoots, give me the short version right now, though. I'd say, did you ever watch the show Sesame Street? Like, if we had to name a feeling front that came in, this would be named Oscar. Because that's how I'm feeling all day long. I mean, not right now, because I get to set that aside and keep you company, which is nice. So I get a little break right now, break from myself. And that's really what I'm looking to provide to you. So that's why I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, just like when Oscar would open. I don't know, did Oscar's garbage can have a sound effect that creaked when Oscar opened it? I mean, talk about a place I would want to go, or see behind the scenes. How many episodes, were there any episodes behind the scenes, Oscar the Grouch's home? Or lifestyles, there must have been lifestyles of the Grumpy and Filthy or something in the 80s. Or what is it called? Check Out My Crib or whatever. What was that, in the 90s or the aughts? But anyway, so don't worry, I'll tell you who Oscar the Grouch is if you're not familiar. But that's what I'm here to do, is to take your mind off of stuff so you can fall asleep. Now, if you're new, and this is totally understandable, you might be feeling a little bit of that grouch or a little bit of the doubt of saying, what is this thing that's supposed to put me to sleep? Who is this person? I'm doubtful. I'm not sure how to feel about your creaky dulcet tones or your mumbling or your pointless meanders. And I'd say that's normal. That's a very normal reaction to this show. And, of course, you're going to be doubtful. I was going to say scoutful, but of course you'll be doubtful because, you've been trying to fall asleep for a long time, and there's been a lot of things that have said that would work. Now, this podcast might not work, so that's the good news, is that, like other stuff, they say, oh, this definitely will work, or this worked for my Aunt Mabel every night. And you see, what was it? A half butterscotch candy and a half root beer ball. Root beer barrel or root beer ball? Oh, I don't know. I'll have to check. Sorry, I guess this isn't helpful then because I don't know which one it was. Do you think they're made up of the same stuff? Yeah, probably. I mean, more than likely. It's just one shaped like a ball and one shaped like a barrel. But I don't know if that's probably not going to work for me because, one, I don't have... how do you cut those into half because that seemed like I can't imagine having to clean up after and how long it would take me, like how much I would procrastinate after cutting a bunch of root beer barrels or balls in half, and butterscotch candies. Also, I don't know, I might have to train for that because that seems like it would take a lot of strength. Oh, sorry, I went off topic there again. So that's a pointless, not really a pointless meander, but, you know, that if you're doubtful or you're not sure what you're getting into, that's totally normal. Actually, this podcast takes a few listens to get used to because of a couple reasons. One is this is a podcast you're not really listening to. It never really gets started. I kind of putter around and kind of say, well, what, like, are there root beer balls? There's got to be. Yes, but I can see why they would say, after you say root beer balls a few times, you start to giggle on the inside. So you say, okay, root beer barrel does make more sense. Plus, it's kind of, I don't know what you call that, candy onomatopoeia or whatever. You see, Scoots, what are you talking about? Let's see, it's kind of looks like it tastes. Is that what an like whatever that thing is? I know some of you are laughing, but I'm laughing because I say, well, I don't know. But also, if a candy looks like what it tastes, is there a word for that? I mean, seriously, get somebody from Lexicon Valley over here, please, or Helen. Somebody, I need a phone where I can call Helen from The Illusionist and say, I'm gonna have to get a hold of her on this one. This feels really important. So anyway, what was I saying? I went off topic there, and now I got mixed up. So if you're new, you might not like the show because it's hard to adjust to a podcast you don't really listen to, and that never really starts. It just goes on and on and on. And you say, well, I don't know how to listen to it. And I say, well, barely, just pretend you're listening to me, just like kind of like I'm talking. And you're saying this person's making about 20% sense, and then you just go with that. You say, okay, root beer. I thought he was going to talk about Oscar the Grouch or something else that he already forgot. Oh, he's something else, yeah. So just see how it goes. So that's one thing. Give it a few tries. That's not for me. That's for you. And I realize that's a big ask, but it's really just so that you could fall asleep and not listen to me. So I'm just asking to listen a few times to see if the podcast works in the sense that you stop paying attention to me. But that's just like what thousands and thousands of people that have reviewed the show have said. The other thing that's different is this podcast doesn't really put you to sleep. It keeps you company while you fall asleep. It takes your mind off of stuff. I'm your companion. Your bore for hire. That's a term I haven't used. You know, just like you say, come on over. What were you talking about? That new sleep solution your Mabel had? Can you come over and just talk about that? Do not bring any, but by the way, don't bring any root beer barrels or butterscotch candy and start cutting it up in like my bedroom or my kitchen. No problem. I'll just come over virtually. Wow, that's great. And then, so you'll come over and talk to me about stuff like that. I don't have to pay attention to you. You're not really there, so I don't feel any kind of social commitment to even say, no, yeah, you don't even, you could say hello. You just say, hey, Scoots, how you doing? But you don't really have to mean it. That's the best part about this show. But when you say, like in other situations, you'd say, well, shouldn't I feel a little bit of feelings about that? And I'd say on this show, you could feel joy when you say, hey, Scoots, great to see you. Anyway, start talking. No problem. I'll be talking again. And I can feel all the regular listeners, even after they corrected me about onomatopoeia or whatever, that they're nodding their heads along with that. They say that's what's great about having a bore for hire. So that's the one thing. If you're new, another thing that's really takes some getting used to for some people is the structure of the show. And there's like, I really only have the ability to put this one podcast out, and then you kind of use it, like people adjust how they use it from there. But so the show starts off with a greeting, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary. And then some stuff about our community and stuff like that, because I want you to know you're welcome and your experience as a human being is important to me. So I want you to feel seen as a person. Then there's business. The business is what keeps the show there twice a week for free. And there's also business between the intro and the show, just because of the design, because of the way way podcast structure is, and just the design of the show. This because then after the business, so business is like at minute 6 or something. It ends. I don't know. It depends on how good things are going. And then there's the intro, which goes from minute 6 to minute 22 or so. And that's just a long explanation like we're in the middle of the podcast for a new listener. But it's different every single time. 900 plus episodes. Well, I don't know if we had the long intro in the first couple hundred. Maybe the first 150 didn't have a long intro. I don't know. I'd have to look back. But so the idea of the intro is it introduces a new person to the show. But for regular listeners, right, one, they get a chance to correct me or see that I'm not perfect. I mean, you already knew that. I mean, clearly. Come on, let's be adults. I just called something a root beer ball, and I can't even pronounce onomatopoeia, maybe. It feels like I'm still short a syllable. And I do not know what that word means, to be straight honest with you. I'm guessing that I think I know what it means, but I'm also honestly, genuinely curious if there's a word for candies that look like they taste. And you'd say, what else? Scoots, give me some more examples. I'd say, okay, are you familiar with the candy Runts, R-U-N-T-S? By the way, Willy Wonka Corporation, probably about time to think of a new name for that. I don't like it. But Runts, the banana looks like a banana, tastes like a banana. Okay, Scoots, give me another example. Okay, I don't know why I'm Wonka-centric here, but I'd say, let's say I could think of one, the old Philip Morris candies. They don't taste like they look, thank goodness. But no, bottle caps are another one. I guess that's more of a punny way. Looks like a bottle cap, tastes like the soda that ideally the bottle cap, kind of like a root beer, cola. I don't know, cherry, lime. I don't know what other flavors there are. So I just wonder if there's a word for that. Probably in like industry parlance, they'd say, oh, yeah, that's called a, that we found. I mean, again, if Willy Wonka was real, or Charlie, I guess Charlie runs things now. Though they said, somebody sent me a YouTube video that said that Charlie was the one that started that train that went around the world in that movie that got made into a TV show. Anyway, I got to get back to, so the intro, that went off topic. The intro goes on and on and on because it slowly is supposed to ease you into bedtime for a regular listener. So a lot of regular listeners are getting ready for bed while they're listening to the show, or they're in bed getting comfortable, or they're in their bedroom as part of their wind down routine. So the intro for most listeners, not every listener, I understand you might use it a different way, is part of their wind down routine as they're easing into bedtime. And that way, then you hear the business, and then you start to listen to the story, and the story goes on and on and on. Tonight, it'll be a famous myth I've uncovered with the help of a team member, and then you fall asleep. Now, that's just one way that the podcast can be used. Again, there's people that listen all night. There's people that started at minute 20 and just listen to the story. There's people that are listening. I'm here to the very end if you can't sleep. So that's another way, or people that turn it on when they wake up. So there's a lot of different ways to listen, but I'm just kind of trying to talk about just when you're starting out. I guess I'm trying to introduce the podcast in the introduction. So so then there's the intro, then there's business, then there's the story. I kind of accidentally explained what I was explaining. That worked out. And then, so tonight will be kind of a bedtime story. Actually, it will be. Can't remember what it's about now because I recorded it yesterday. It's about a marionette. She's really cool too, and she has a little bit of a bedtime story type adventure. Like she goes on quite a few meanders. So there's that. Then there's the thank yous at the end of the show. So that's the structure of the show. The reason I make the show is because I've been there. Like I said last night, I don't want to get into the details to trip anybody else up, but it's like it took me a little, like I had trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep, and trouble waking up early. I don't even have that in the beginning, but it's true. And I even tried my famous just lay there, but then there's like a practice that goes on for some sort of individual sport where they use, anyway, it's right where I live, and it's a little bit, so then I say, oh boy, you got to listen to them. But I did try to just lay there. Then I meditated. Even though all that occurred, I woke up on the wrong side. I did get off. I only have, my bed's only on one side because it's against a wall. But as they say, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And I would have preferred not to. I would prefer not to have my brow, the old double furrow going to my brow today. But it just happened. So tonight I'll try to go to bed early or something. But so if I can help you get a better night's sleep or get to sleep or just not make it something you dread. Because I don't know, for me, if this goes on, then I'll start dreading bedtime and I'll have to kind of switch something up. So hopefully I can provide you something where you at least feel neutral about bedtime. If not, you say, well, I got Scoots there, my boar for hire. And I know he's going to be there to keep me company and take my mind off of stuff. So that's one reason. The other reason is you deserve a good night's sleep. We all do. And if you get a good night's sleep, you'll be in a better position not to be grouchy like I am a little bit today, right? It's kind of passing now because it's like 3:30. But yeah, if I can help, that would be my honor. Now, I promised I would explain who Oscar the Grouch is. And I probably have talked about this. So Oscar the Grouch, so there's a show Sesame Street here in the U.S. I don't know if it if there's global versions of it or if it's rebroadcast in other countries. I don't know the answer to that. Also don't know how ubiquitous it is. When I was a kid, it was ubiquitous. Like almost every kid watched Sesame Street. And they're still in the Thanksgiving Day parade. They still have a float there. So that would say, okay, there's still a cultural touchstone. Oh, what was my point? So who's Oscar the Grouch? Thanks, Brain. So Oscar the Grouch is one of the big characters on there. Now, I don't really know. Oscar's a being, not a human being, like probably a mammal. And Oscar is a grouch. Like, I don't know if they call him Oscar the Grouch. Also, he's grouchy, but that may be, I don't know, would be his phylum or his, thingamajig, other than phylum, his stratum. But he's Oscar the Grouch. And he also lives in a garbage can. Now, in the movie, there was a movie, and he was running around in the garbage can with his legs. I think that was in, Let's Find Big Bird, the movie. Or maybe I'm imagining that. But most of the time, Oscar's garbage can that he lives in, they live in New York City, I believe. At least as a kid, that's why, I always wanted to live in, one of the many reasons I wanted to live in New York was because they said, well, that's I did not think that Snuffleupagus and Big Bird and Oscar definitely lived there. They lived in a new neighborhood in New York. But Oscar's garbage can was his home, and it was kind of like one of those cool things that it was, that's another word I don't know. Larger on the inside than the outside. So he could go downstairs. It had multiple floors. And I loved that. Talk about fan fiction I've never written. Now, I wonder, because I was talking to my friend Ings, and she was talking about, people, doing drawings of starships, Imperial starships, and then she was talking about people that do the blow-ups and the blueprints. And then I was talking about the podcast Vast Horizon and being like, oh, I wonder if I could see the blueprints for that, for everything in that podcast. But then, what was my point? Oh, I'd like to see, I wonder if there's any blueprints of Oscar's home. Anyway, it's just something I'm interested in. But it's the kind of stuff that puts people to sleep. I mean, let's be honest. That's why I do this. That's why I'm fairly effective at it, if it works for you. So I'm glad you're here. I really hope the podcast can help. But like a lot of listeners, regular listeners say, that get a lot out of the show, give it a few tries and see how it goes. You got nothing to lose. And if you're grouchy or whatever, I've been there. I've been there just moments ago before I got to sit down and spend some time with you and realize we all get grouchy sometimes, right? We all wake up on the, actually, I wake up and I like to change my bed side every few hours, but whatever. It's not easy being human or being a grouch. You're right, Oscar. I said it. It's not easy being Oscar the Grouch either. I don't know if wasn't there a book, or was that a book I proposed on the podcast, I Grouch, the Oscar the Grouch story. So anyway, I'm glad you're here. I really hope I can help you fall asleep. I yearn and I strive. I work really hard. So, yeah, I'm glad you're here. I really appreciate your time. And here's a couple of ways I'm able to bring you this show twice a week. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, turning, mind racing, trouble getting asleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. So it could be thoughts, like things on your mind that you're thinking about from the past or the present or the future. So those are thoughts, thinking stuff, I guess. They say, Scoots, give it to me in an easier way to absorb. I'd say thinking stuff. I don't know if anything with stuff, though, is easier to absorb. So, but thoughts, it could be feelings. It could be emotions coming up. Those would be easier to absorb if they were absorbent feelings you've absorbed. Sometimes I feel like I'm being absorbed. So, it could be feelings. It could be physical sensations. Could be changes in schedule or time or temperature or routine, whatever it is that's keeping you awake. I'd like to take your mind off of that. And what I'm going to do is I have a safe place here set aside. I've smoothed it. I've patted it. I've rubbed it down. I've cleared out some space. I have it's modular. And then I'll send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders. So creaky, dulcet tones is my voice is a little bit different. Pointless meanders is superfluous tangents. That means I'm going to go off topic. I'm going to get mixed up. I'm going to ramble nonsensically and use filler words, pauses, mispronounce things. Did I say get mixed up and be forgetful? What did I say at the beginning? I said something like thinking. No, it was something else. Like it was a word with I-N instead of, and I said I should go back to that. Oh, tossing, turning. Tossing, turning. Do I usually say tossing? I don't think I do. Tossing sounds like, I don't know. Hopefully we'll come back to that. But if you're new, after I send my voice to the deep dark night, I want to take a second for my new listeners. My regular listeners, what up? You would know if I say tossing, turning, I guess. But we've tossed, we've been tossing and we've been tossing. For some reason, tossing makes me think of Dawson, and that makes me think of that show, Dawson's Creek. None of that has anything to do with one another, except they say Scoots, Tossin and Dawson. I guess but Dawson's does not sound like Tossin's, the store where you toss stuff. Come on down to Tossin's and toss some stuff around. It's a store, but it's really an experience. It's Tossin's, the store where you could toss stuff. You do have to buy everything you toss. It would be one of those touchless tossing. It's now a touchless store, but you could throw stuff because you already paid for it. soon as you pick it up, you didn't pay for it, but we do have a way to know you've picked it up. So if it's tossed, you toss it, you boss it. You toss it like a boss here at Tossin's. The store, we already said that according to the script. The store where you can toss it. You could toss. Also, yeah. No, you wear a head. Don't worry. You put something on your head. We don't worry. We have all that. We wouldn't have people tossing stuff where it would bump you or anything. Don't worry. We have it all set up. It's a concept. It's a concept store. What's the concept? Well, I was trying to introduce a sleep podcast. I didn't realize I got into another pitch meeting about my in the retail space. But yeah, it's a store where you toss stuff. I think that. Oh, you don't understand? Okay, because I got to get back to the sleep podcast I do. Okay, so let's say you're familiar with the idea of a store, correct? Which type of store? Well, that's a great question. We're going to do some focus groups, but at first I was thinking of what I would call not as small as a bodega or a corner store, but like kind of like a store you'd see in the movies. You say, it's not a supermarket. It's not quite a market either, but it's bigger than a bodega or a corner store, or I know there's other terms for small local market. It's bigger than that, but it's not as big as a supermarket. Okay, I lost you. That's good, because this is actually a sleep podcast and not a pitch meeting. But so then you go into the store, and we have touchless technology. So that basically means you're usually a registered user of the store or some service. I don't know. And you we'd have a subscription. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's a membership. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. And we say, we say, hey, welcome back, Janina. Aisle 7's open if you want to head down there. Toss away. And maybe the customer would say, well, it's kind of looking to do aisle 2, grains and cereals. And you say, okay, I got an opening on aisle 2 in 4 minutes. Do you want to do some actual shopping? But then what you would do is you'd go down, that person would go down there and say, okay, going to toss some stuff now. And as long as it's within certain parameters that we'll probably have to learn the hard way, say, okay, no throwing the rice over the aisle unless you've reserved 2 aisles. That would be some sort of other, you say, well, I need aisle 1, 2, and 3 because I'm going to be tossing rice and sacks of beans over the aisles. You say, okay, you could do that as long as we know ahead of time. But then, yeah, you toss, I don't know if you've tossed a bag of rice because you got to pay for it, even in this one, but you paid for it. So I mean, come on, who hasn't held, especially like not just a bag of rice, but like a small sack of rice that has, that's not in plastic, that's in the, whatever those rice bags are made of, and you can feel it in your fingers, right? And this one's not too heavy. I don't know. It clocks in maybe, I don't know. We got 4 pounds of rice here. We would have all different things. And then another one would be pinto beans. And you say, well, what would happen? See, I know Galileo did all this and Newton or somebody, but I'm going to throw both of these and see what happens. There's not many places you could do that. And you say, okay, now the rice is spilled everywhere. Now, everything also is very well, we keep our store in very clean shape. So we do, a lot of this we'll use for specialized feed, because you say, well, what are you going to do? You just wasting the food? Oh, no, we don't do that. No, don't worry. We have all that figured out too. But you have this is just providing an illusion for the customer. So there's a certain feeling of decadence, but nothing decadent. Then you could throw molasses on the rice, and you say, okay, wow. I don't know, maybe it doesn't work. Your right brain. My left brain just said, cannot compute. Anyway, so I'm back. Sorry, I was tossing. I was got to, so if usually, sorry, new listeners, I had a little tangent I went on for regular listeners and for new listeners. So if you're new, a couple things to know. This is a podcast you just kind of barely listen to. And what I mean by that is you kind of see and you say, what is he talking about? It doesn't really make any sense. Why is he talking about tossing things? It's not hermetically sealed, but it has the feeling of being in a hermetically sealed environment. So you feel comfortable. Why was he talking? Was that what he was talking about? And that's a normal reaction. But the thing is, you just barely listen to me or barely pay any attention. Now, that's not for everybody. Some people like to pay attention or they're waiting for me to get to the point. And I don't think eventually I'll never get to the point. Eventually, I'll take forever and never get to the point. A bit like what that pitch meeting would end like. They'd be like, okay, we'll get back to you. And I say, okay, what was it? Can we just do a quick debrief? We still don't understand what the purpose of a store where you toss things is. And they'd say, well, okay, yeah, you're right. Cause I would have said birthday parties, but you can't really have, I'd say it's a cathartic thing. Maybe we could make is there an Institute of Catharsis, International Institute of Catharsis? We could work with them. And they say, okay, there's no International Institute of Catharsis. If there is, they're probably on a bootstrap budget. So they're not looking to open store-like experiences. Okay, how about this then? What if we change it to, we take the touchless store model and we design a shopping cart that you toss stuff into? But then nothing gets, the shopping cart, like maybe it has anti-gravity, so then everything gets settled in. Maybe. Okay, well, yeah, but okay, so don't really listen to me. Just kind of passively consume me. That's the first piece of advice to new listeners. That's from all the regular listeners. That's what they say over and over again. And yeah, if you're doubtful or skeptical or you're not sure about this show, that's a normal reaction. Now, for some people, they know right away, this isn't the podcast for me. And that's, I guess, that's fine. But for a lot of people, you're just not sure. And what regular listeners say is give it a few tries, see how it goes. Because for a lot of people, this podcast kind of eventually grows on them. Not actually, but like you say, oh, okay. I get it now. I don't really listen. Also, there's no pressure to fall asleep. This is a sleep podcast that doesn't put you to sleep. It just keeps you company. So I'm here just to keep you company while you drift off, not really to put you to sleep. I'm here to be at your bedside. That's why the shows are over an hour, so you have plenty of time. You don't ever have to say, oh, how am I going to fall asleep by then? You got plenty of time to fall asleep. Even if you can't sleep, I'm here. Like, so if you can't sleep, I'm here to keep you company just as much as if you're sleeping and not listening to me, because that's my job. I'm here to talk and to be barely entertaining while what you do, whatever works for you. And you can always listen to show after show after show. So that's the first couple of things to know. The other things that throw people off, understandably, too, is the structure of the show. So the structure show starts off with a greeting, so you feel welcome. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Then there's listener support. Then there's support for the show, sponsors and stuff like that. That's how we're here twice a week free. Then there's intro. The intro goes from maybe like minute 6 or minute 8 to minute 20 to 22. And this really, some people have strong feelings about the business in the intro, kind of understandably, but kind of just see how it goes the first few times for you. But that's why I want to give you a heads up that people have strong feelings about it. But the intro really, it doesn't serve an essential part of the podcast, but it's built into the podcast for a reason. So you could skip it, like now I think it's 3% of listeners now skip ahead to start the show at around 20 or 22 minutes. And then a few thousand people that support the show on Patreon listen to story-only episodes. But most listeners, but that doesn't mean there's a right or wrong way, but most listeners, they listen to the intro because it helps them wind down and get relaxed and get ready for bed, or to kind of get comfortable and ease you into bedtime. Because I've learned that there isn't really a quick fix for bedtime or to instantly fall asleep that I've found that works for me. And so the intro, like, eventually, if you become a regular listener, this is like me applying for you to be a regular listener. Like, if you did become a regular listener, you could then see how the intro works. Like, some people are doing some sort of wind down routine. Some people are getting ready for bed, and some people are in bed getting comfortable, and then some people skip it. Some people listen when they wake up. Some people listen during the day for a little distraction. So just kind of see how it goes. And, go from there. So that's, so that's the intro. Then after the intro is business. That's how the podcast business works. That's called the mid-roll, even though it's not in the middle of the show. Then after that, it'll be our ongoing episodically modular series where we kind of listen in on a role-playing game of a couple people playing a role-playing game in a future world. That takes place in a future world, but not futuristic. It's called Journey into the Land of Tomorrow. So very bedtime story. You can listen to it in any order. There's so that'll be the bedtime story. Then the show ends with thanks and good nights. So that's the structure of the show. And then the other things that are important to know is, like, one, you deserve a good night's sleep. I hope this Sleep With Me can provide it. But it might not, so you can always check out sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. That has other sleep podcasts I found and other stuff I've tried. Either way, the reason I make the show is because I want you to get the sleep you need. I don't want bedtime to be something you have to dread, because I've been there, dreading bedtime. I've been there, tossing and turning or turning, mind racing. It's interesting. I say tossing, turning, mind racing. Oh no, I do say mind racing. Trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. I've had all those things. So if I can help you, it would be my honor. And if you could get the sleep you need and you deserve, our world's going to be a better place. So that's why I make the show. And I think that's everything. I'm really glad you're here. I work really hard on the show. I yearn and I strive, because I really want to help you fall asleep. So thanks again for coming by. And here's a couple of ways I'm able to be here for you twice a week. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it the bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. It could be thoughts you're thinking about or things on your mind. It could be feelings or physical sensations. It could be changes in time or things on your mind, obviously, things you're feeling physically or emotionally or noticing that are impacting your sleep, I guess. Or changes, or just stuffing stuff. You say, I don't know what it is. That's what I like. Sometimes I say, well, temperature, oh boy. So whatever's keeping you awake, I'm going to try to be here to take your mind off of that. What I'm going to do is I got a safe place here. It's been a few intros for me where I've said a safe place. I'm going to smooth it. I'm going to pat it down. I'm going to rub it. I'm going to say safe place. And raise my hand, like when I say that, smooth the pad, rub it down. But yeah, I'm going to say, like, I have a place set aside for you and prepared. Or, say, well, I'm a minimalist for my safe places. I say, wow, cool. Can we talk about that in a little bit? And so whatever scheme, like, what am I going to do, though, after I establish that safe place? And if you're new, it's really my job to earn the safe place. But what I'll do is I'll send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'll use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. So I'm going to go off topic and get mixed up So that's something like filler words just like that. I'll slow down. I'll get confused. Like, I guess I do. I mean, yeah, I get confused. I get mixed up. I can't keep up with my thoughts. And then my thoughts go from not able to keep up with them to then they go to a standstill. I don't know what's up with that. You were just running. What do you need? A little break? Yeah. I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, yeah. Well, you were just running around. So maybe my thoughts are like a little kid. Like, when a kid does that and then they're breathing heavy and they say, yeah, yeah, yeah. What were you doing? Just running around there? Yeah, I was running around. Now I'm standing here catching my breath. You see, but the only difference is when a kid does it, it's kind of cute most of the time, unless you're trying to go somewhere or you say, well, I just put that suit on you. And but like in this case, it's in my brain where I'm trying to say, well, I'm trying to go to sleep actually. So if you could not, or I'm trying to do a sleep podcast. So if you could, I don't mind you moving, but if you could just move at a slower, like not so erratically, I guess is what I'm saying. Though I appreciate I appreciate, we had a joke a long time. So once upon a time, so most of you have heard of the band U2. Though for a lot of you say, well, that's a classic rock band, right? I say, yeah, I guess apparently it is. But like I say, there's a song, She Moves in Mysterious Ways, that U2 sings. And I can't remember, this was at least 4 or 5 years ago. I used to say, Scoots moves in superfluous ways. It had another one, though. But what was the one? What was that vocabulary word I was just using with that part of my brain? Erratic ways. Scoots moves in erratic. That's not as flowy or prosy. I mean, I guess erratic ways. I don't think it was superfluous ways, but I guess I do. Can you move in a superfluous way? I maybe if anyone can, I can. I can try. Oh goodness gracious! Though, what new listener? I'm so sorry. I was just moving around I was moving around superfluously and erratically. So if you're new, let me give you some information. I'm glad you're here. Clearly, this is a different podcast. I mean, you already realized that. So I want you to know a couple other things. This podcast is best if you just barely listen to it. Like if you're waiting for me to make sense or be charming or have a comforting voice, some people feel like that. But if you're not sure yet, it may be like it's better if you just kind of release your grip on normalcy. I guess that would be it. Expect some soft erratic behavior from me. Not I'm much more of a soft erratic than a sharp-edged, running around. Like that kid, you say, were you running in spirals? Yeah, I was running in spirals. It was nice, huh? Yeah, I really liked that as opposed to more like side to side. Yeah, it's comforting. Did you notice I did it for a little while in the counterclockwise and then clockwise. They weren't I guess they were spirals, kind of. Loops, ovular. I move in ovular ways and spherical ways. Can you move in a spherical way if you're just on the ground? Yeah, when I was jumping up, that's when I was jumping up like I was running on a sphere. And technically we're on a sphere, so whenever I run, I'm running on in a spherical way. Well, you got me there. You totally do, kid running kid inside me. Yeah, you better get back to that intro. The new listeners are listening. I don't know. There's something about your breathless voice that really is innocent and comforting to me. So maybe you could take over. Yeah, but I don't know if anybody's going to like it. But okay, so yeah, don't really listen to this podcast. Just barely listen to it. Just like if you were out running with me and we were kind of listening to the noises like the bugs are making in the trees far, far away, not anywhere near where you're sleeping. or the wind is making up in those trees. You know, those kind of sounds that just drift into the background. That's what this podcast should do. And then that's one thing. So it's a podcast you don't really need to listen to. Also, this is a podcast. What's the other thing, Scoots? Well, thanks. You want me to take back? Yeah, I'm out of breath. Thanks for taking back over. I'm going to go run around some more. Okay, I'll see you. Do you want to take, so I have some orange Kool-Aid here because I think I like it when I ran around and I had orange Kool-Aid on my face and my chest without a shirt on. Just reminds me of being a kid. Okay, maybe later I got to run. Okay, I'll see you. So, yeah, don't barely listen to me. This is a podcast you don't really listen to. It also barely puts you to sleep. It's kind of more here to keep you company as you drift off at your leisure. So if you can't sleep, I'm going to be here for an hour to keep you company, and whether you're awake or asleep, or you wake back up. And then if you need me, you could play me for 8 hours or 10 hours or whatever you need to do. But you'll kind of find your way. The other thing is, and this isn't really, there's no gain for me by telling you this other than almost every listener tells me, it takes 2 or 3 tries to get used to the show. I mean, there is a percentage of people that immediately strongly dislike this show, and that's just part of making stuff. That's a reality. And there's some people that like it right away or fall asleep right away. But for the 90% of listeners, this is very different. So it takes 2 or 3 tries to get used to it. And it may take 2 or 3 tries. I guess if you give it 2 or 3 tries, you're really trying. So if you don't like it after 2 or 3 tries, I will give you applause. Like email me or something so I can applaud you. Versus the people that have strong, like they listen to 10 minutes and then they let me know strongly how they feel about me. Which I say, great. Like I totally, I don't respond to those because I said, well, okay. Yeah, I realize this podcast does not work for everybody. So I'm here to help who I can. But for most people that ends up helping, I guess that's my point. Give it 2 or 3 tries. I mean, there was a recent review that someone said they gave it like a bunch of tries and then it worked. And then there's a common thread among reviewers. Like 1 out of every 100 says, I listened to the podcast 2 years ago. Absolutely strongly felt I did not like it. And then 2 years later, I said, well, let me give it one more try. And then I realized, it's, he really is that little kid running around. And there's something there that's not there to pay attention. There's something there if I'm not looking. So I guess my point is just see how it goes. Structure show. Okay, so that's the next thing that throws new people off. So I want to tell you about that. And I want to remind all the regular listeners, what up, regular listeners? How'd you like that part where I was running around? Did you like that? Let me know. Because, yeah, hi, regular listeners. It's me. I'm going to run around some more slowly. Don't worry. In a slow motion way for the rest of the, okay. I'll see you. Okay. Okay, so structurally what to expect. Show starts off with a greeting. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, and star bakers in this case. That's so you know you're welcome. Then there's business. That's how we're able to bring this podcast twice a week for free instead of part of a service. Then there's the intro. So the business throws some people off, but the intro can really throw a lot of people off. The intro is around 12 to 20 minutes long. But it's kind of its own sleep podcast, really, because, I mean, where else are you going to get a part of us that's all, for a lot of us, very familiar, that running around kid, breathless running around kid. And you say, well, there is something soothing when a kid that's just barely out of breath, not fully. And you say, yeah, but you can't really, that's just the stuff that comes up in the intro. But the real purpose of the intro is to ease you into bedtime, just like this kid is. Now that they've run around, now they're sitting under a tree there, and their breath is returned to normal, and they have a book in their lap, and they're kind of looking through the book at the pictures, and they're not even reading it because they're winding down. And for Sleep With Me, the intro gives you a chance to get some separation from the day, whether it's part of your wind down routine, whether you're listening before you get in bed, whether you're listening during the day for a break, whatever it is, the intro just gives you a little buffer, and ideally is a nice landing strip for bedtime. But yeah, it does go on and on and on and on. So some people are like, when does this show start? And I say, well, technically it already started. It's just slow moving and pretty senseless. So that's the intro. Then there's business. That's part of the podcast structure. Then there's the episode. And tonight we'll be talking about the Great British Bake Off baking show, which is what I should have been calling it all along. And then there's thank yous at the end. So that's the structure of the show. The reason I make the show, one, you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a place of respite. And if you get the sleep you need, the world's going to be a better place. It's really that simple, right? So if I can help with that, it would be my honor. Because if you're rested, my world's a better place. And you say, well, it's, incremental. Like I live in Shanghai and, or wherever you are in the world. And you say, how's that going to impact? I say, it does. Like a tiny bit of betterness in the world is better for everybody. I mean, we know that's true. But also the other reason is I've been there. I know how it feels tossing, turning, mind racing. So if I can help, I can relate to what it feels like when you're not, when you're tossing and turning. So that's important to me. And I think that's it. I mean, I'm glad you're here. I work really hard. I yearn and I strive, and I really want to help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. And here's a couple ways we're able to bring this podcast twice a week.